Alright guys, this is Lee Hoagland with StormGuard Roofing. We're at 5008 Hairston Drive, Court, whatever it is. I'm doing a quick video with the walk around on the property as well as on the roof to demonstrate my findings. I think this is a little more conclusive than pictures. I apologize in advance. I forgot my GoPro at home, so this is done from my phone. So the first thing I'm checking right here is I'm looking at what we call elevations. So I'm looking at a downspout to look for hail damage. Now this flashlight is something that I can use to cast a shadow, and as you can see, it cast a bit of a shadow in there. I ran a piece of chalk on there. That is a textbook hail hit. Under the majority of insurance claims, the insurance company under the claim would pay to replace this downspout with an equal value downspout. Unless, of course, the policy excludes marring or cosmetic damage, which is very uncommon, but it does happen from time to time. This is a good example of a downspout. Doesn't appear to have any damage initially, but when we put a light on it, you can very clearly see a hail ping right there. So with a simple piece of sidewalk chalk, you're able to see that right there. And that's something that we would show to the insurance adjuster during the inspection. We also look at stuff like this. Obviously we've got discoloration, algae growth, but all of this spatter indicates that this has been hit with something multiple times. More than likely hail. Could also be from a weed eater. There's just no way to fully determine that. We go to the back of the house, and I'm not going to do a full surround on the elevations because that would just take up too much time. But this is a great example of a downspout. Looks pretty clear. This is the west facing side of the house. So this is where we would expect to see, right on the southwest facing corner is where we would expect to see the majority of hail damage. And we can see here that we've got multiple, you can see up at the top there, those shadows that are being cast are from hail hits. Now something like this is more than likely a mechanical ding because of how sharp of an indentation it makes. Same thing with this one right here. But these guys right here, more than likely due to hail. So I'm going to finish doing that after I complete this video, but for the sake of time, we're going to go ahead and go up on the roof because I think a video is just a little more comprehensive on what I would want a homeowner, insurance adjuster, potential buyer, potential seller to look at. So when we're looking at the roof itself, we've got full coverage on gutter guards. So the likelihood of finding a hail ding in these based on the way they feel appear to be steel, very unlikely we could find any damage on those, and they do tend to protect the lip of the gutter pretty effectively. I've looked around at the entire house. The gutter guards tend to be in pretty good shape. Now when we get up to the roof, this is where we start running into some issues. So right off the bat, as far as this shingle, when I put a gauge on it, it gauged at 30 years. Could be a 30, 35, or 40 year shingle. Taking a measurement, it's 39 1/4 by 5 5/8 inch exposure. Very high profile ridge cap. You can see here it's double laminate through the entire ridge cap, and then also in the nailing zone it's triple laminate. So this is a very heavy duty ridge cap that we would not typically find any kind of hail damage on unless we were looking at least golf ball sized. Now to look at the damage, we've got a lot of mechanical damage on this particular slope. Anytime you've got the fiberglass fibers showing, that's an issue because we're going to see a lot of premature failure of this shingle. Something to keep in mind is that a roof in general, and especially shingles, have one job only, and that is to get water off the house. When you start having granule loss, and these of course are your granules, when those start to fall off, the roof loses its ability to shed water. So, I mean, this is a perfect example. This is mechanical damage. This was not caused by hail or wind, more than likely a tree limb or some clumsy oaf got up here and started dropping things. We've also got a satellite dish that has been removed. Looks like it's pretty tight as far as the sealant. Not a fan of it. It's pretty ugly. Now this is not one of the areas of the roof that I counted for hail damage, specifically for the squares, but it's pretty obvious to see that spots like this is what we're looking for. This is textbook hail damage. Not only are the granules blown out, but the matting itself is bruised. If I laid something flat here, there would be a gap, and what that does is that holds water. So the ability to shed water for this roof has been greatly diminished due to that kind of damage. This is the front slope. It's east facing. This is actually where I found the least amount of severe damage. However, in a 10 by 10 foot square, which is chalked off with the corners, which is the size of the square. It's 100 square feet that we measure out. I mean, we're seeing pretty significant hail damage on these spots. And because of the color of the roof, these spots actually show up pretty well on a camera. Aside from those areas, the front slope tends to be in pretty serviceable condition, although the shingles are too brittle to do any repairs. When we get to the back slope, which is west facing, this is where the roof really starts to look like it's on its last leg, because it is. So here's the square for the rear slope, west facing. Very similar damage as far as the hail goes. You can see here we've got granules blown out, and we've also got indentation and bruising to the mat. But something else to keep in mind is that these granules are in place to aid the shingles in shedding water. These areas right here, I mean, the granules are, I mean, you've got probably 60 to 70% granule loss. So a roof in this condition, it will do its job for a certain period of time and to a certain extent, but this roof needs replacing. If you're looking closer, these little fibers that you see here, that's actually the fiberglass threads that form the mat that this asphalt is poured into. The fact that those are showing means the asphalt itself is breaking down, and this roof is not going to last much longer. Going back to proving that there was hail on the property, very obvious. Look, we've got these guys. That would have more than likely been caused by hail. We refer to that as collateral damage on soft metal or a gas flue. Something else that needs to be addressed that is completely unrelated is this chimney cap that needs to come down and be resealed. Easy fix, not a big deal. Something I do like about this roof, you'll notice we do have a cricket here on the back of the chimney. That is because of the width of the chimney. You do want that cricket to divert water around it versus just having it run flat into the chimney and holding water and debris. This is probably the worst slope of the roof, and all these dark spots, that's not the shading of the granules, that's the shingle without the granules. And it's pretty congruent across this entire slope. Whenever you see a roof that's in this condition, it's time to change the roof. There's no way for that roof to do its job. Very similar over here. I am seeing some spottiness, and some of that could be due to contact with a tree. That said, this roof's in pretty poor condition. It's very good that it's not leaking that we're aware of, but it does need to be replaced. Moving on to the slope 1, south facing. Granule loss isn't super severe here, but we've got some really good textbook hail damage. This kind of granule loss and bruising to the shingle does not happen on its own. These are not heat blisters. This is not due to basic wear and tear. This is due to impact from hailstones. And it's much more common to see this kind of damage on west and south facing slopes. because that's typically where hailstorms are coming in from. Can still find it on all the slopes of the house. However, for example here, this is a north-facing slope. Didn't really find anything. What you do see though is you see this spotting, and that's what we refer to as spatter, probably caused by hail that was actually breaking apart when it hit and hitting at an angle, so it didn't cause actual bruising to the shingle. However, it did create a spatter pattern, and this is just more evidence that there was hail on this property. So as far as my recommendation goes, this house needs a new roof. When we're checking repairability of this roof, you know, I can get a shingle and I can very gently pry it up and break the seal, and of course they can reseal. But this shingle is, if we were to have to lift this entire shingle all the way from here to here and have to replace shingles one or two at a time, what would happen is the shingle would start cracking at the top, and therefore we've essentially damaged it to the point where it's not going to be doing its job any longer. So in conclusion, this house needs a new roof. I certainly think it is an excellent candidate for an insurance-based replacement, and hopefully that's something that we can pursue. Thank you very much.